We start out with a short narration by the ninja, Chiomi. Apparently her people are also being trafficked as slaves, so you got that to look forward to. And yeah, she is definitely being sold as looking back fondly on her short time with Arc. The emotional piano music even swells when he says she's a ninja. I swear to God I'm not making that up.
Ninja? Yeah, しかも
She asks Arc for help with her trafficked kin, because, beast people are in the same situation as elves. They end up helping her in return for information on where the elves are, which happens to be the same place the beast people are. Chiyomi is part of a larger operation, where she'd create a distraction by trying in vain to free the slaves in this particular stronghold, and when all the enemies converged on her location, her allies would free slaves in many other locations. She believes that her life is forfeit and that the slaves here will be the ones who don't get saved. But because of Arc and Ariane, there's a chance everyone could make it out alright. Meanwhile, the evil prince, paranoid that people might be out for his life, goes to hide in a safe house. After having some dinner, Arc and Ariane join back up with Chiyomi alongside her ally Goemon. Goemon and Arc seem, at first, to have animosity towards each other, but it turns out they actually developed an instant friendship. While Ariane and Chiyomi sneak in the back, Goemon and Arc act as a distraction in the front. Arc has some fun intimidating them, and the two of them wind up causing more destruction than intended when they both cast such similar spells that the spells magnify one another. Like most episodes, this one is strangely lacking in real development. Going over it, I'm often caught off guard by how long some of the really simple scenes end up taking. I think the most interesting thing about this episode is Arc's friendship that develops with Goemon and how it compares to his friendships with the other girls. See, Arc is a bit silly. His more eccentric tendencies have leaked into his knight persona as time went on, but Goemon is very serious, quiet, and seemingly lacking in humor. You'd think they'd have friction. However, they get along great, seeming to have some deeper understanding. When they act as a distraction, they work together well and clearly have immense respect for each other. There's even a degree to which they drive one another to action. Arc intentionally uses stone magic in order to match his allies. It's really interesting to see Arc on the same level as someone in terms of the narrative. Another thing about this scene is that it makes good use of the power fantasy. The point of this scene is for them to flex. There's not supposed to be tension, just them showing off how cool their fighting is against some mooks. That's nice in that it makes the show's premise work better, but there's also this odd confluence between the way the scene's premise works and the way this duo works. Because so much of their chemistry comes from a respect for one another's strength, and this scene is about showing off their strength, the positive aspects of their team-up and the positive aspect of this narrative beat actually reinforce each other. And what's even more interesting is that this is the first time in the series where, both due to the nature of the scene and the support of his new friend, Arc's heroic power fantasy and his true goofy self felt like they belonged together. He's being theatrical and strong at the same time in a situation where it's needed and with a person who respects him for it. For a brief, glorious moment, Arc's character began to make sense. I wonder how long it will last. I think this really showcases what I mean when I say him and Ariane have no chemistry. She does none of this for him. I'm saying that Goemon should have been the love interest. I also want to talk about how weird of a character Chiyomi is. So, if we see this story as Arc's story, Chiyomi adds nothing, right? Chiyomi's whole thing is that she needs to save her people from the slave trade. That's also Ariane's thing. She doesn't give Arc any new things to do or any new ways to explore his character. The only way in which her introduction into the cast can be rationalized as logical is if you stop seeing her as a character and start seeing her as a cute girl. In this case, there's a lot that she does that Ariane doesn't. She is a beast person instead of an elf. She's a ninja instead of a sword mage. She's petite instead of voluptuous. She has black hair instead of pink hair. Through this lens, it makes sense why she'd be so narratively similar to Ariane, because Arc was going to save slaves anyways. Him getting into the good graces of two cute girls by doing this is more efficient than just one. I'm not saying that this is the thought process of the author, but if there is another reason, it's not immediately obvious. Well, I can think of one other reason. See, Chiyomi's inclusion makes a lot of sense if you think about how she allows for Ariane's character to grow. Sure, Arc already had someone to help in this way, but Ariane hasn't met someone in her situation from another race before. There's a lot you can do here. You can have her slowly grow less xenophobic upon seeing other races having the same issues and realizing that the cause is systemic more than anything else. You can have her pay forward the help she got from Arc. You can have Chiyomi act as a confidant for stuff that Arc wouldn't understand, and so on. There's a lot you can do with it, but the show seems wholly uninterested in all of that, because Chiyomi isn't meant to be significant to Ariane. She's meant to be significant to Arc, because all of her actions and scenes revolve around him. He's the one she ran into, and the one she asked for help. He's the one she keeps thinking about. Sure, this is because he's the main character, but that just drives the point in further. Arc should not be the main character. Maybe if this was about him and Goemon, it would work, but Chiyomi, judging by the end credits, is a lot more important. If you want to see me tear into episode 9, then like and subscribe with notifications on, and if you want to support me, you can check out my Patreon, the link is in the description.